The events take place in 1965. As punishment for disobedience, Alice and Joe Fasulo decide to send their daughter, Heather, to an all-girls boarding school located deep in the woods. They are greeted by Ms. Traverse, the headmistress of the school. Clearly Heather is not happy to be here. Ms. Traverse gives the Fasulo family a brief tour of the school, explaining that despite the isolation, the girls are provided with everything they need. Alice says that Heather should focus on her studies above all else. The school was founded over a century ago and remains in demand to this day. All the teachers working here are also graduates of the school. Ms. Traverse suggests conducting a short interview with Heather, a standard practice, while Ms. Leland discusses the formalities with the girls' parents. Ms. Traverse is aware that following an argument between Heather and her mother, their house nearly burned down. The girl started a fire. But here she will be turned into a well-mannered young lady. Lately the Fasulo family's financial situation has not been very stable, but the school offers scholarships to the most gifted students. Ms. Traverse asks Heather if she has a gift. The girl remains silent. The headmistress asks Heather to complete a test and leaves her alone. Heather finds the task strange. Soon it's time to say goodbye to her parents. Heather barely holds back tears, while her mother coldly tells her to take care of her nails. Ms. Mackinac escorts Heather to the dining hall, where the other girls have already gathered. Heather sits down at a table and meets a strange girl named Marcy Turner, who is being bullied by Samantha Wise and other students. Heather defends Marcy and thus becomes a target herself. Bedtime comes, and the girls are taken to the common room. After wishing them good night, Ms. Mackinac leaves. The girls say goodnight to each other and go to sleep. Heather has nightmares about the woods and hears women's voices begging to be freed. When she wakes up, she sees one of the girls sitting on her bed, whispering something. Heather comes closer and sees blood. Suddenly another girl appears, holding an axe. This time Heather wakes up for real. It was a nightmare within a nightmare. In the morning Heather asks Marcy whose bed that was. Marcy replies that it belongs to Ann Wales, who is currently in the hospital after trying to harm herself 2 weeks ago during a chemistry lesson. Later, Samantha and her cronies lock Heather in the restroom stall, mocking her for her red hair. When Heather insults Samantha's mother, the girls beat her up. Because of this, Heather is late for class and receives a warning from the teacher. Ms. Mackinac sends Heather out of the classroom and, also scolding her for her untucked blouse, tells her to go to the headmistress. Heather has no choice but to obey. Ms. Traverse expresses disappointment but remains calm. The girl says she doesn't meet the high standards of the institution and asks for permission to call her parents. Ms. Traverse allows it. Heather promises her mother that she will behave from now on, but Alice is busy entertaining guests. To her, it is much more important that her daughter earns a scholarship, because that means she and Joe won't have to support her. Ms. Traverse knew it would go this way and forgives Heather for skipping class. But instead of returning to class, the girl goes into the woods and wanders there until late at night. At some point Heather realizes she's lost. As she tries to find her way back, she hears voices pleading to be freed. Then Heather sees ghosts of girls around her. When they start chasing her, she runs away in terror, screaming. The headmistress and the teachers have been searching for her all this time. The girl silently walks back into the common room. Marcy advises her not to go into the forest again because it's dangerous. In Marcy's opinion, the school isn't so bad, at least better than home. Heather thinks that if her mother died, everything would get better. To cheer her up, Marcy suggests they listen to music together. Heather has no choice but to go along with it. Day by day passes with lessons, punctuated by Samantha's bullying. Heather tries to simply ignore it. One day during an outdoor volleyball game, the ball bounces into the forest. The girl is about to go after it, but right at the edge of the woods, she hears the eerie whisper again, pleading for release. Later in the common room, the girls discuss what really happened to Ann Wales. Many believe it wasn't an accident. One of the girls also mentions a school legend about Clara Thompson and her 2 sisters, who were rumored to be witches. They were students at the school nearly 100 years ago. No one knows exactly where they came from. In any case, strange things started happening at the school after their arrival. The Thompson sisters spoke to the forest. No one was friends with them. When they were caught performing some kind of ritual, the other students began to bully them. When things got really bad, Clara asked the forest for revenge in exchange for the souls of all the girls at the school. The only known fact is that Clara and her sisters took the headmistress's life that night. Rumor has it the sisters' spirits still wander the woods, taking students with them. At night, the girls decide to go into the forest to see for themselves whether the Clara Thompson story is just a silly tale. However, the appearance of Ms. Traverse ruins their plans. The girls run back to their room. The next day Ms. Traverse has a calm conversation with Heather, asking her to talk about how she ended up at this school. Heather replies that her mother wanted to get rid of her. Of course she's hurt, but she doesn't hate her mother and believes the feeling is mutual. But Ms. Traverse senses that Alice sent her daughter away out of fear. Heather has been hearing sinister whispers in her head for a long time now, urging her to do terrible things. Unable to endure it anymore, the girl storms off and runs into Samantha, who openly mocks her. Before things go too far, Ms. Traverse intervenes. In class, Heather no longer listens to the teachers, she listens to the voices in her head, which are becoming more and more real. Soon Anne Wales returns to the school, sparking whispers among the students. Heather wonders why Anne's parents didn't take her home. Marcy explains that Anne's parents passed away. Samantha thinks the two girls are talking about her behind her back and butts into the conversation, only to be sharply mocked by Heather. In retaliation, Samantha pours milk over Marcy. Heather, unable to take it anymore, attacks Samantha. A fight breaks out between the girls until Ms. Mackinac pulls Heather away and takes her to the headmistress. The girl insists she was only defending herself. But Ms. Traverse doesn't believe her and makes it clear that if she doesn't follow the rules, she'll be in serious trouble. That night Heather can't sleep, nor can Anne, whose wrists are wrapped in bandages. In tears, Anne reveals that she hears voices too, just like Heather and Marcy. That's why they're outcasts. They can sense ghosts and have the ability to speak with them. While trying to escape through the window, Heather falls under the influence of some supernatural force and tumbles down. The noise draws the teachers to her. In the morning, Heather wakes up in the infirmary with a sprained ankle. Marcy questions Heather about what happened last night. She promises to tell her later. Anne doesn't come to breakfast with the other girls. When Heather pulls back Anne's blanket, she finds only a pile of dead leaves. Soon after, the headmistress announces to the students that Anne is missing and the police have been notified. But Heather and Marcy feel that something is wrong. The dried leaves, that's all that's left of Anne. That night, Heather wakes up to see the teacher waking Marcy and handing her a cup of tea, supposedly for a sore throat. The next day, Heather overhears the teachers forcing Marcy to rehearse a song. Suddenly, Samantha grabs Heather roughly, saying they need to talk. But Heather refuses. The police arrive at the boarding school. Heather overhears Ms. Traverse talking to an officer and catches something about insurance. Heather rushes to tell Marcy that the headmistress lied. Ms. Traverse never reported Anne's disappearance to the police. But Marcy's behavior suddenly changes. She insists that nothing strange is going on and tells Heather to leave her alone. In a burst of emotion, the girl begins to wreck everything around her. Then something supernatural happens right in front of Ms. Traverse, and Heather twists her ankle again. Now everyone at school avoids her, even Marcy. Heather becomes a complete outcast. Everyone calls her crazy. Surprisingly, even Samantha avoids her now, believing Heather is dangerous. At night, the girl is still haunted by nightmares, and during the day by voices begging to be freed. Marcy vanishes without a trace, also leaving behind only a pile of leaves. None of the students saw or heard anything. Ms. Mackinac reacts with suspicious calmness, telling the girls to go to breakfast. Heather feels the disappearances are somehow connected to the forest and decides to go there in search of Marcy, but she's stopped by Samantha, who it turns out had tried to warn Heather about Marcy all along. According to Samantha, the forest controls the schoolgirls. Clara Thompson was the first, and the teachers know about it. The forest needs new bodies, and Heather is the key, just like Clara once was. The conversation is interrupted by Ms. Leland, who takes the girls to class. But Heather is unable to concentrate on the lesson. Suddenly screams are heard. All the girls rush out and are horrified to see Samantha with no signs of life. It's clear she did it to herself. Ms. Traverse blames Heather for what happened, since she spoke to Samantha shortly before the incident. Heather in turn accuses the headmistress of being behind the girls' disappearances. Softening abruptly, Ms. Traverse says that Samantha used to be obedient, but then she became angry and confused. According to the headmistress, Anne and Marcy ran away. It happens from time to time. Ms. Traverse didn't report it to the police because it would damage the school's reputation. Usually the girls always return. The sheriff arrives, having already been informed of the two missing students. He tells Ms. Traverse to contact the girls' parents immediately. The headmistress claims that Anne and Marcy fled into the forest. The sheriff spends the whole night combing the forest in search of them, while Heather is unable to sleep. Ms. Traverse and Ms. Leland keep a constant watch on her. Going through the test papers of Anne, Marcy, Samantha and other students, Heather notices something terrifying. Meanwhile, the sheriff hears eerie rustling sounds all around him and quickly gets into his car, where an unknown force takes his life. Joe Fasulo arrives to take his daughter home. He is deeply disturbed by everything that's happened. He feels guilty for leaving her here in the first place. Ms. Traverse's arguments fail to convince him. The Fasulos get lost in the forest, which causes Alice to panic. She openly expresses her displeasure at having their daughter back in the family and plans to send her to another school, a religious one. Suddenly Joe loses control, and the car flips over. Heather loses consciousness. As Alice tries to climb out of the car, something grabs her and drags her into the forest. A few seconds later her lifeless body falls onto the overturned vehicle. Heather wakes up in a hospital. When she asks about her parents, the nurse avoids giving a direct answer. In the next ward, Heather finds her father and asks where her mother is. He doesn't answer directly, but his expression says it all. Heather breaks down in a fit of hysteria, and the hospital staff lead her away. Afterward, Ms. Traverse enters Joe's ward. Heather tries to resist, so the hospital staff strap her to the bed while Joe desperately tries to understand what happened in the forest. What took his wife? Suddenly Ms. Traverse begins to perform some kind of dark ritual involving Joe. Heather sleeps under heavy sedation until she's awakened by Ms. Traverse's voice. The first thing Heather wants is to see her father, but he doesn't respond at all. Ms. Traverse explains that according to the doctors his condition has worsened. Meanwhile Heather returns to the school, still hearing whispers in her head. She is powerless to do anything. She has nowhere to go, no one to help her. The other girls despise her. Ms. Traverse turns off the light and wishes everyone good night. But Heather can't sleep, feeling that something is about to happen. Determined, she tries to escape through the window, but some unknown forces seem to hold her back. Still, despite her sprained ankle, Heather runs and hides from them. The branches of the cursed trees pierce through walls and doors, reaching for Heather. At the same time Joe regains his clarity, steals a key from a sleeping orderly and escapes. Heather finds herself among the other missing girls, asleep and entangled in the tree's branches. Ms. Traverse reveals that she is Clara Thompson, and she along with her sisters has been sacrificing the souls of schoolgirls to the forest for 100 years. Heather is the key, the conduit. The girl begs her mother's spirit for help. Alice tells her daughter to stop whining and finally do something to make her parents proud. Joe arrives at the school to save his daughter, but the door is locked. Heather hears his voice. As Clara Thompson and her sisters begin the ritual, Joe breaks down the door, finds an axe and attacks the sisters. Suddenly the branches wrap around him, and he shouts for Heather to run. The girl finds herself trapped by her own fears. The Whisper insists she cannot stop the transformation. The Thompson sisters close in, but Heather isn't afraid and breaks the ritual, destroying Clara and the others. Joe is saved, and all the girls are freed. Joe hugs his daughter, and together they burn the place to the ground. In the final scene, we see Joe, Heather and the other girls walking out of the forest. Somehow the trees remain untouched by the fire.